They said I wasn't invited for 10 years, so I invited myself. For 10 years, my family had a tradition. Every summer, right when the heat became unbearable and the city buzzed with tourists, they would pack their bags, board a plane, and vanish into a new paradise. Greece, Italy, Spain, Morocco, they had done it all. And every year, I'd watch them post smiling pictures on social media. My mom in oversized sunglasses sipping wine, my dad grinning in linen shirts, and my younger sister twirling on cobblestone streets. Every year, they went without me. It wasn't just once or twice. It was deliberate. The first time, they told me, "Sweetheart, you've got exams. You'll be too busy anyway." The second time, "You're starting college, you'll want to stay with your friends." The third time, "Well, it's just easier without you this year. Maybe next summer." By the fifth time, they didn't even bother making excuses. They'd just smile awkwardly and say, "You're not on this family vacation." That line became a tradition, a cruel, cutting ritual. My absence became part of the plan. At first, I cried. Then I got angry. Eventually, I stopped asking. But I never forgot. Fast forward 10 years later. I had graduated, built a career, and saved money that no one in my family even knew about. I wasn't the timid kid anymore. I had learned to work in silence, to keep my plans hidden, and to never show my hand until the time was right. That's when I decided, if they didn't want me on their vacations, I'd take one of my own. But not just any vacation. I wanted something extravagant, something that screamed, "I don't need you." So, I booked a $14,000 private villa in Santorini. Whitewashed walls, infinity pool, panoramic view of the Aegean Sea, the kind of place that could make anyone's jaw drop. When I sent the booking confirmation to my phone, I stared at it for a long time. A decade's worth of hurt had led to that moment. This one, I whispered to myself, is just for me. I packed my bags, bought a first-class ticket, and for the first time in 10 years, I felt free. The villa was even better than the pictures. The air smelled of salt and flowers, the pool glittered like melted diamonds, and the sunsets painted the horizon in impossible shades of gold and crimson. On my first evening, I sat at the edge of the infinity pool with a glass of wine, listening to the waves crash far below. For once, I wasn't the outsider. I wasn't the forgotten child. I was exactly where I was supposed to be. And then, 3 days later, everything shattered. It was early afternoon when I heard voices outside the villa gates. Laughter. Familiar laughter. I froze, wine glass in hand, as the heavy wrought iron gates creaked open. There they were, my mom, dad, and sister, dragging their luggage across the cobblestone path as if they owned the place. Their faces lit up when they saw me, like this was some happy reunion. "Surprise," my mom sang, adjusting her sun hat. "We thought we'd join you. Isn't this perfect?" My jaw tightened. My sister dropped her suitcase with a loud thud and ran her fingers along the villa's stone walls. "Wow, this is amazing. So much better than our usual hotels." She smirked. "Guess you finally learned how to travel." I stood, heart pounding, as my dad stepped forward with his usual authoritative calm. "Listen," he said, lowering his voice. "We saw the booking, and since you're here alone, we figured it'd be more fun together. Family, right?" Then came the dagger. Mom smiled sweetly and added, "Oh, and since this villa is quite pricey, you can cover the rest. We'll handle the little things. Consider it your contribution." I set my glass down carefully. "Understood," I said quietly. But in my head, I was already moving. That night, while they unpacked and laughed in the living room, I logged into our shared family travel wallet. Years ago, they had insisted we use it for group convenience, though I was rarely included. But this time, I had control. I paused their access. Every card, every link, every cent. Then I opened their airport transfer bookings. Click. Cancelled. I leaned back, watching the digital confirmations vanish one by one. This wasn't their vacation anymore. It was mine. At dinner the next evening, everything came crashing down. We sat on the villa's terrace, the sky glowing purple with sunset, when the waiter leaned close to my father and whispered something. My dad's fork froze midair. His face turned pale. "They canceled everything," he muttered. I raised my glass of wine slowly, swirling it as the light caught the deep red liquid. I took a sip, calm, deliberate. Then I smiled. "Well," I said softly, "looks like you're not on this family vacation either." For a long moment after my words, no one spoke. The terrace was silent except for the clink of cutlery and the whisper of waves far below. My mom forced a laugh, though her eyes darted nervously. "Oh, sweetheart, you're joking, right? You wouldn't actually cancel our plans." I met her gaze, tilting my head. Why not? You said I could cover the rest. So I did, just not the way you expected. My dad leaned forward, his voice low, the way he always spoke when he wanted control of a situation. Listen, don't play games. We came here because this is what families do. We stick together. I let out a short laugh. Stick together? For 10 years you stuck together without me. Remember? You're not on this family vacation. I repeated their lines slowly, savoring the way their faces tightened. My sister rolled her eyes, her fork stabbing into her plate. God, are you seriously still mad about that? You're so dramatic. We didn't invite you because you always made things complicated. I leaned back, swirling the wine in my glass. Complicated or inconvenient? There's a difference. Dad slammed his hand on the table, making the plates rattle. Enough. You're not a child anymore. Don't twist this into some pity act. We're here now, so make the best of it. The waiter reappeared with the bill. My father reached for his wallet, but when his card was declined, his face turned crimson. He tried another. Declined again. Sir, the waiter whispered apologetically. All of your bookings, they've been revoked. Mom's face drained of color. What do you mean revoked? The waiter glanced at me, almost sheepishly, before excusing himself. I set my glass down. It means, I said slowly, that without me, you don't have a villa, you don't have transfers, and you definitely don't have the travel wallet you've depended on for years. Consider it balanced. My sister's mouth fell open. You can't just leave us stranded. That's cruel. I smirked. Cruel? 10 years of leaving me behind wasn't cruel? Posting pictures of your perfect vacations while I sat at home wasn't cruel? Interesting definition. Mom reached for my hand, her voice soft and pleading now. Honey, we didn't mean to hurt you. We thought we were protecting you. You had school, responsibilities. No. I pulled my hand back. You had excuses. Year after year. Don't sugarcoat it now. Dad's temper flared again. Do you think this makes you strong? Punishing your own family? You're acting out of spite. I leaned forward, locking eyes with him. No, Dad. I'm acting out of memory. And trust me, my memory is sharper than yours. The air grew thick with tension. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting the villa in shadows. For the first time, they weren't in control. For the first time, they were the outsiders. Finally, Mom exhaled shakily. What do you want from us? An apology? Fine. We're sorry. We should have included you. But can't we move on? Can't we just be a family? Her words trembled, but her eyes searched mine desperately. I let the silence hang. Then I said, almost gently, we can move on, but not on your terms anymore. On mine. Their shocked faces told me everything. They weren't used to me holding the power. They weren't used to me standing my ground. And this was only the beginning. The following morning, the villa was quiet, but the tension hung heavy like storm clouds. I woke early, brewed coffee, and sat by the pool, watching the sun climb over the cliffs. For once, I felt at peace, until I heard footsteps behind me. It was my sister. She wore her robe loosely, her hair messy, but her smirk was intact. You're enjoying this, aren't you? She said, sliding into a chair. I didn't look at her. Enjoying what? Finally getting your little revenge. You think freezing the travel wallet makes you some kind of mastermind. But let's be real, you're still the outsider. Always have been, always will be. I finally turned to face her, my voice calm but edged with steel. And yet, here you are, in my villa, living under my roof, eating my food. Doesn't look like I'm the outsider anymore. Her jaw tightened. For once, she didn't have a quick comeback. She poured herself coffee, her hands trembling slightly, before standing up abruptly. This won't last. Mom and Dad will fix it. They always do. She stormed back inside. By the time breakfast was served, the others were awake. My mom set the table with forced cheer, while my dad sat at the head, scrolling furiously through his phone. His knuckles were white, his jaw clenched. No luck? I asked sweetly. He shot me a glare sharp enough to cut glass. All our bookings are gone. Hotels, transfers, even the rental car. Every card connected to that damn wallet is useless. Mom tried to calm him. Let's not ruin the morning. We're still together. That's what matters. No, what matters, Dad interrupted, pointing a finger at me, is that your sibling here thinks it's funny to sabotage us. I put down my fork slowly. I didn't sabotage you. I reclaimed what was mine. You used that travel wallet for years without me. You benefited from my silence. Now you get to experience what it feels like to be excluded. Mom's voice broke, her hands shaking as she reached across the table. Honey, please. We made mistakes. But punishing us like this, it's too much. I leaned in, my tone cold. 10 years, Mom. 10 years of being told, you're not on this family vacation. You think 3 days of discomfort compares? The silence was deafening. Even my sister, usually quick to stir the pot, stayed quiet. Finally, Dad slammed his phone on the table. Fine. If you won't help, we'll fix it ourselves. I'll book us another place, another car. We don't need you. He stomped off toward the villa's office area, muttering curses under his breath. Mom sighed heavily. Why are you doing this? Don't you see how much pain you're causing? I stood, collected my plate, and turned toward the pool. Funny, I said over my shoulder. That's exactly what I used to ask when you left me behind. Later that day, I overheard them whispering in the living room. Dad's voice was sharp. She's bluffing. She can't hold this over us forever. We'll call the bank, reset the wallet. Mom's voice was softer, wavering. She's different now? Stronger. Maybe we should just apologize properly. No, Dad snapped. If we bend once, she'll never stop. I smiled faintly from the balcony above. They still didn't understand. This wasn't about money anymore. This was about rewriting the roles. For 10 years, I was the outsider. For 10 years, I had no voice. Now, every choice was mine, and I wasn't about to give that up. By evening, the villa was glowing with lantern light, the air thick with the scent of grilled seafood and lemon. I had ordered dinner for myself, just one portion. When the waiter arrived with a steaming plate of shrimp saganaki, my mom looked stunned. You didn't order for us? She asked softly. I cut into the shrimp slowly, deliberately, savoring the taste before answering. No, I didn't think you'd want me deciding your meals. After all, you didn't let me decide anything for 10 years. My sister scoffed, leaning back in her chair with arms crossed. This is pathetic. You're seriously holding a decade-long grudge? Everyone else moved on. You're the only one still crying over spilled milk. I met her gaze, unflinching. No, you all moved on because you never had to sit at home, scrolling through photos of your perfect vacations, pretending it didn't hurt. I did. Dad, who had been unusually quiet, finally spoke. His tone was cold, authoritative. You're not a victim. You could have spoken up. You chose silence. I put my fork down and leaned forward, my voice sharp. Silence was the only thing you ever allowed me. Every time I questioned, you brushed me aside. Every time I asked why, you gave me excuses. And every summer, you boarded planes without me. Tell me, Dad, what was I supposed to say? Please love me enough to take me with you? He flinched, just slightly, but I saw it. Mom's eyes welled with tears. We didn't mean to make you feel unloved. We thought you were fine. You had friends, school. I laughed bitterly. You told yourselves that so you wouldn't feel guilty. But you knew. You always knew. The waiter returned quietly, whispering something to my father. I caught a glimpse of the bill folder in his hand. Dad's expression darkened as he slid his card across. Seconds later, the waiter returned, shaking his head. Declined, sir. Dad's jaw clenched. He tried another. Declined. Another. Same result. The waiter hesitated, then turned to me. Would you like me to add their meals under your account? I smiled faintly. There are no meals. Just mine. The waiter nodded and left. My sister's face was red now, her voice rising. You're humiliating us in public. Do you enjoy this? Do you enjoy watching us squirm? I sipped my wine slowly, holding her gaze. I don't enjoy it, but I remember it. The way you all smiled in those vacation photos, knowing I wasn't there. The way you made me invisible. That was humiliation too. You just didn't see it. Dad slammed his palm against the table, rattling the glasses. You think this makes you powerful? You think this makes you better than us? I leaned back, calm, collected. No, it makes us even. After dinner, the atmosphere in the villa was suffocating. My mom retreated to her room, silent tears on her cheeks. My sister muttered curses under her breath as she scrolled furiously on her phone. Dad paced like a caged animal, plotting, scheming, unwilling to accept defeat. I stood by the balcony, staring out at the moonlit sea, the glass cool in my hand. For once, I felt steady. For once, they were the ghosts haunting someone else's vacation. And I wasn't done yet. The next morning, I woke to the sound of raised voices. My father's booming tone echoed through the villa's stone walls, sharp enough to make the air vibrate. I walked into the living room to find him on a video call with relatives back home. The screen showed my aunt, her expression concerned, my uncle frowning beside her. Dad's voice was loud, deliberate. Can you believe this? We came all this way, and our own child sabotaged everything. Froze the wallet, left us stranded like beggars. Do you think that's how a son or a daughter should treat their family? Mom sat beside him, wringing her hands, whispering, "Please don't make this worse," but he ignored her. My aunt shook her head. "This is shocking. Why would you do that? After all your parents have given you?" I stepped into the frame, calm, composed. "Given me? You mean 10 years of exclusion? 10 years of being told, you're not on this family vacation?" They gave me silence. They gave me absence. The room froze. My aunt's mouth opened slightly, words caught in her throat. My father barked, "Don't twist history. We had our reasons. You had responsibilities. You always acted like you didn't care." I cut him off sharply. "No, you had excuses. And when excuses ran out, you had cruelty. Do you remember year 7, Dad? The trip to Amalfi? You told me, you'll ruin the dynamic. Stay home. Do you remember that?" His face went pale. "Enough," he snapped, but his voice wavered. I turned toward the screen. They want sympathy, but for a decade, they chose to erase me. Now, for once, they're the ones erased. Balance. Before my aunt could answer, I ended the call with a single tap. The room plunged into silence. My sister exploded. "You just humiliated us in front of the whole family. Do you realize what they'll think now? They'll think we're monsters." I smirked. Maybe they should. Monsters don't get to hide behind smiles forever. Mom stood suddenly, tears streaking down her face. "Please stop. I can't take this anymore. We wanted to protect you. We thought it was better for you not to come along. You were always sensitive, fragile. We didn't want to burden you with the way we travel, the arguments, the costs." "Fragile?" I snapped. My voice cracked through the air like glass shattering. "You called me fragile, so you left me behind. Again and again. Do you know what that did to me? Sitting alone while you lived like royalty abroad? Watching my own family erase me like I was an afterthought?" The silence that followed was heavy, unbearable. Finally, my father's voice broke through. Quieter this time. "We thought we were doing the right thing. Maybe we were wrong. But this," he gestured around him, to the canceled bookings, the stranded state they were in. "This is vengeance, not justice." I stepped closer, my voice low, steady. "No, Dad. This is memory. Justice is remembering." He had no answer. For once, the man who always commanded the room stood speechless. That night, no one sat together. My sister slammed her door shut. Mom cried softly in her room, and Dad brooded on the terrace with a drink in his hand. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, my chest heavy. For 10 years, I had dreamed of a reckoning like this. For 10 years, I wanted them to feel the same emptiness they gave me. And now that they finally did, I wasn't sure if it was enough. The villa's terrace was bathed in the soft, golden glow of the setting sun. I had ordered another dinner, this time for the family, though I hadn't told them. Mom and Dad sat stiffly across from me, my sister glaring at me as though I were the enemy. The tension was almost tangible, like static in the air. The waiter arrived quietly, placing plates before them without a word. He lingered for a moment, then leaned toward my father, whispering something. Dad froze. His fork hovered midair, hand trembling. "They canceled everything," he muttered again, disbelief heavy in his voice. I smiled faintly, lifting my glass of wine. "Yes," I said softly. "Every booking, every transfer, every card. It's all gone." Mom's face twisted into panic. "But we thought." "You thought wrong," I interrupted, cutting her off. "We all thought wrong for 10 years. My sister slammed her hands on the table. "This is insane. You can't just..." "Watch me," I said, my tone calm and cold. The waiter returned with the dessert menu. He looked at me and whispered, almost conspiratorially, "Everything's been adjusted. Even their little surprises, they won't get any of it unless you allow it." I set my glass down, swirling the wine slowly. "Exactly. The surprises, the transfers, the luxury, they're all contingent now. The choice is mine, and I choose not to share." Dad's face turned ashen. He opened his mouth, but no words came. Mom's hands trembled in her lap. My sister's eyes darted between us, searching for some loophole, some escape. I leaned back, picking up my fork again. "For 10 years, you left me behind. For 10 years, I watched from the sidelines while you lived a life that was never meant for me. I waited, I planned, and I executed. This villa, this wine, these sunsets, they are mine. Not yours. Not anyone's. Mine." The waiter stepped back silently, letting the words settle like a storm. Mom's voice cracked. "Please, can't we just..." "No," I said firmly, cutting through her plea. "No more excuses. No more we thought. You wanted me gone for 10 years. Now you're here, and you'll see what it feels like to be excluded." I took a slow sip of wine, watching the expressions on their faces, the tension, the disbelief, the realization that for once, they were powerless. The waiter returned one last time, placing a single dessert in front of me. He whispered, "Your villa, your rules. Everything else is paused." I smiled, lifting the dessert and holding it up like a trophy. "Yes," I said softly, almost to myself. "Exactly as it should be." The family stared. Silence enveloped us. The waves crashed below. The sky burned with the last rays of sunset. And in that moment, I realized, this villa, this vacation, this power, it wasn't just about revenge. It was about finally being seen. Finally being on the family vacation. Finally being me. The next morning, the villa was silent. The air smelled of salt and flowers. The pool glittered like shattered glass in the sunlight, and the Aegean stretched endlessly beyond the horizon. I walked along the terrace, barefoot, tracing my fingers along the cool stone railing. My family had retreated to their rooms, subdued, contemplative. The previous night's tension lingered, but now it had softened, just slightly, into something else, respect, or perhaps understanding. I poured myself coffee and sat by the infinity pool. The water reflected the morning sun, dancing in patterns only nature could create. I sipped slowly, feeling the weight of 10 years finally lift. They had tried to surprise me, to reclaim control, but for the first time, the roles had reversed. For the first time, I was in charge. Mom emerged from her room, tentative. She held her cup like a fragile offering. "Can we talk?" she asked softly. I gestured toward the seating area. "Of course." She sat, shoulders slumped. I never realized how much my actions hurt you. 10 years. That's a long time to feel invisible." I nodded, taking a slow breath. "Long enough to plan this villa." I allowed a small smile. "Long enough to finally claim a space that's mine. Not yours, not anyone's." Dad appeared next, carrying his drink, his expression unreadable. "You made a point," he said quietly. Loud and clear. I can't argue with that. You were right. We ignored you. We left you out." I studied him carefully. His pride was bruised, but there was no anger, only the faintest acknowledgement of fault. Even my sister joined, muttering, "I guess. I never thought about how it felt. I just thought we were all having fun. But maybe fun isn't fun if someone's left behind." I sipped my coffee again. "Exactly. And now, everyone gets to learn what that feels like. Not as punishment, but as perspective." We sat in silence, the sound of waves our only companion. For the first time, the villa felt like more than just a luxurious hideaway. It felt like a stage where old dynamics were tested, reshaped, and finally confronted. I looked out over Santorini's cliffs, the sun spilling molten gold across the sea. And in that light, I realized something. This vacation wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about money or luxury or showing them who was in charge. It was about recognition. Recognition that I existed. Recognition that I deserved space, voice, and presence. Recognition that the years of being told, "You're not on this family vacation," had ended. And for the first time in a decade, I felt complete. The villa was mine. The sunset was mine. The silence, the waves, the freedom, they were all mine. And somehow, for the first time, so were they. Because maybe, just maybe, they had finally learned to see me. I smiled, lifted my cup one last time, and whispered to the empty terrace. "After 10 years, I'm finally here." And Santorini, as if acknowledging my quiet victory, glimmered in the morning sun.